Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chuck Bunting. I'm Associate Dean of Research in the college. Most of you know me. I appreciate you coming out this afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started. Some folks will come in. They'll miss the introduction, but they can introduce themselves later if there are questions that want to follow up. So let's go ahead and get started. We have Juan Borrero. Juan is an assistant professor in industrial engineering and management. And his career award was awarded in December of 2021. And the title is Career, Hierarchical, Commit, or Defer Problems with Learning, Methods and Applications. Oscar Gapraz, sitting next to him, is an assistant professor in chemical engineering. His career grant was awarded in February of 2022, entitled Career, Identifying and Controlling Interfacial Structural Instabilities in Transition Metal Oxide Cathodes for Na-ion batteries. And we have Mari Andiapan. He's an assistant professor in chemical engineering. His career grant was awarded in January 2023. The title is Career, CAS, Climate, Structure, Property, Performance Relations of Iron and Copper-Based Hybrid Me Resonator Photocatalysts for CC and CN Coupling Reactions. Thank you very much. And finally, Nicoletta Falla. She's an assistant professor in mechanical and aerospace engineering. And her career grant was awarded in February 2023. The name of her project, Career, Using Virtual Reality to Advance Research and Learning and Promote Positive Skill Transfer in Complex Environments with Application in Enhanced Flight Training. So let's thank our panelists. They've done all the hard work, and now it's easy from here on out.
Sure.
Nothing but the execution. So I want to thank those in attendance. We have a good deal of our staff here as well. They're here to answer any other questions that none of us can answer, some of the odd ones, but we'll see how that goes. And we're just going to have a little bit of Q&A, and then I'm going to turn it over to the audience to ask questions. So you might think about the things you might be wanting to know. But Juan, we'll start with you and ask the question, in your opinion, what is the most important component of a career proposal?
The educational component.
The most important component.
The educational?
The location is the answer.
Educational.
Education.
The education, okay.
Yeah, there is like careers have this educational component, right? So the outreach educational. I think that's the kind of like the key. You know, like all of the NSF proposals always have to have like a good like research plan, and that's kind of like a necessary condition. The key difference is that you will have to have in the career a good educational plan. So as long as you have a very good educational plan, I think the competitiveness of your proposal is going to increase significantly. I view it like that way. I think that's
okay. Oscar, how would you answer that?
I think the most important thing in a career is getting the reviewers excited about what you will bring to the table in your career, in your area. So kind of give them impression that which are the topics you carefully selected and you will be the leader in the field in the upcoming years. That involves integrating the education wisely, but I think it's mostly the selling your career projection and how you see yourself being who you will be in the 5 years and why this career is important for that development.
Mari, how would you answer the question?
Great, pretty much similar to the previous two mentioned. You know, the integration between the research plan and educational plan is very important. And what they are trying to see is whether you will be an established leader in the proposed field in the next 5 years, based on what you have accomplished, based on your publications and based on the courses what you taught in the past, and how you are building on your past experience, and how you are integrating your research and educational plan, and based on your publications, and they're trying to see whether you will be one of the leaders in the field. So I think these are the aspects that are very important.
I think for me it's the vision. Like, yes, you're gonna have a good research plan and a good education plan, and they're gonna be integrated. But what they're really looking for is they're like really awarding you, not your project, right? It's like kind of like given there's gonna be a good project, but it's your vision for how you will change your field and the life of your students and other young people around you, not just how are you gonna do your research.
Okay. So, you know, the career proposal's got a 5-year project plan. How do you go about developing a 5-year 5-year research and education plan, the easy part, right? Actually executing it. How do you go about developing that 5-year research and education plan? Just whoever would like to chime in first. I'm not going to go down the line anymore. I did that once. I'm not going to do that again.
I can give how I did it, but basically, so you have this goal. So the first kind of thing that you have to think truly is like the proposal's goal. This is my goal, and then you put it like into objectives. So objective 1 is this, objective 2 is this, like big objectives, you know. And once you have like 3, 4, like depends on how many objectives, I think it's going to flow naturally, right? I think that's the way I approach this. So it was not like starting like from a 5-year, okay, so month 1, month 2 is more like kind of like the other way around. So objective 1, how long is it going to take? Objective 2, connected, like connecting every single part like that. That's how I approach it. I don't know if it's the best way of doing it, but
Hey, you won.
that's the way, yeah.
Well, it's something like that where you start with your objectives and like, what do you actually want to do? And then I went to thinking, okay, can I actually get this done in 5 years? And if for me to get it done in 5 years, what has to happen first? And I just putting everything in a timeline format. But I didn't, it was more of like trying to fit everything in 5 years, not trying to just like align everything, I guess.
Anybody else? Anything else to add, or?
When I talked to my program manager, she clearly mentioned to me that in the normal, typical NSF proposal, you have 3 objectives, and pretty much you are trying to avoid having a sequential objectives where you want to at least accomplish 2 out of 3. That's how you write NSF, normal NSF proposals or any DOE proposal. But in the career, she said it should be a high risk, high reward, and sequential kind of, as the others say, you set your initial goals and how they will build in the upcoming years and how they will serve the one main question you are targeting.
Anything to add, Mario?
Yeah, very well said by the other 3 members. Yeah, when you write this normal 3-year proposals, you understand what are the expectations, right? Definitely the problem you are addressing in the career has to be more elaborate, extensive, and larger than the regular proposal. Obviously the funding is for 5 years. So relatively the risk of the project is going to be relatively higher compared to the regular 3-year project. And what they are also expecting is the problem itself, what you are proposing to solve, needs to be more important and critical problem that is not well solved or previously not a well established solution exist in the field. So the problem itself, it needs to be relatively more novel and interesting to the reviewers.
So that was an excellent lead-in, Mari. You have difficult, complex ideas, words that are kind of hard for everyone to pronounce,
Right.
and you have to turn it into something that's interesting and novel. And Oscar, you mentioned kind of the reviewer as you have to. You mentioned the reviewer as well. What did you do to try to make your proposal reviewer friendly?
So for this one, I will just, if I start, all of us have different techniques we use, but those are individually, if someone is expert in your area, they will know it. So what I did personally, I first mitigate the amounts of jargon I used. And if I use any jargon, I define them in the text. And for the techniques, either simulation or experimental, I made just a very small chart saying that that's the name of the technique, that's where it's available, and that's the purpose of it. And in the text, I say I use these techniques in my previous publications, blah, blah, blah. That way, I don't have to explain them, but I just explain the purpose of the technique that anyone can understand. Because whoever will read it doesn't have to be the expert in your area. It's very important that you translate the knowledge clearly to anyone.
Sure. A couple of points to add to Oscar's point. So it's going to have a research plan and educational plan, right? We have great support in our CEAT research office. For example, I always take Pam Reynolds' help. She is excellent in helping you with what she has seen tons of proposals over the years, right? So she's very good in providing feedback for your educational plan. Okay, that is something it's going to be, to be, I'm a chemical engineer, even a non-chemical engineer should be able to understand what you are proposing in your educational portion. So in that portion, Pam Reynolds can help you. Please try to get her help. Give her 2 weeks advance and email her. She can help you a lot. That is one thing. She helps you. She says, hey, this is not clear. Or this. She may also have suggestions. Okay? That is one I would say. The other thing, this is very common, is and I know Dr. Chanting may have follow-up questions on this. So as Oscar mentioned, it depends. Each one has their own style, right? So you will develop your own style. Writing your proposal, non-technical reviewers can also understand. Many times we think, people who are going to review is, they have in-depth knowledge about our proposal or our field. In many cases, it is not the case. So you are generally writing for a general audience, right? General audience. Like when I write, okay, my advisor tells me that in my grad school, we target your undergrad students, okay? Your department undergrad student. If they can understand, many other people can understand. So that kind of things comes when you serve as a panelist, okay? If you are targeting a program where you want to submit, okay? In your first year or second year, please write to the program directors. Volunteer to serve as a panelist, okay? Then you get a chance. Many program directors are looking for panelists. They say it's really hard for them to find panelists, okay? So when you start reviewing, okay, 2, 3, 4 times, you will see each time you are going to review 5 or 6 proposals, you will understand, okay, what is the proposal that is hard to read and what is the proposal that is really easy to read. Just maybe one Saturday morning you start reading it, okay, you don't realize it's already 2 hours, okay, you finish reading it, okay. Those are the proposals. Then you'll understand, oh, this one I like the most. This is the style I want to develop for my proposal, So I think that is something you develop over the years, and I think serving in a panel will help us to develop your own style, your own writing style, proposal writing style. Many reviewers can also understand. I know it's lengthy, but I hope it's helpful.
Good. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other
Yeah.
Please.
I think so. On the writing, yes, absolutely writing. And I think that I removed all the jargon. Like they say that anybody in your extended field should understand it. No, anybody should understand it. And I basically just gave my proposal to friends in not my field. And I was like, you need to make sure you know exactly what I'm doing. If it's not making sense, like let me know. But also, like something we don't mention a lot, just use your white space strategically. Like you're gonna have to put it in there. Don't frustrate the reviewers. But the last thing that I thought was really important is anticipate what concerns they're going to have and address them ahead of time. So for me, like I knew my proposal was very risky and the entire project could just come crumbling down. So I knew they were gonna see that, right? Because I could see it. So I addressed that at the end. I was like, here's my plan if this does not work. Because I knew it was gonna be a concern. So then they didn't have any concerns left if you do that.
Very good. Juan, anything to add?
Yeah, so number one, I did put a lot of examples of, if I am able to solve these problems, then this real life problem, an example, and I discuss these examples in detail, I would be able to tackle this kind of a problem. Number two, in the first page, I try to put all the objectives and the project goal like right there. So having that in the first page or as early as possible, I think that's going to help significantly with the proposal, because if you bury that like in the page number 7, everybody's going to lose interest. And number 3, that is related to what Nicoleta was saying, is like if a reviewer starts doing a proposal and it's like a block of text, he or she is going to be, okay, this is a headache. So you have to try to at least the first few pages to be as friendly as possible. A lot of white space, figures, this kind of thing. I think that can help setting out your
I think they also like to see diagrams. So you can replace your objectives with a diagram. Anything you can put in a diagram format that makes sense. Like don't do it just for doing it. But if it makes sense to do that, it helps with the way they read and their eyes and gives them a rest. But even if you can put a figure on the first page, that's gonna summarize your research. Like I know for me, I had a figure that kind of showed the different aims, and how I had the research falling in those aims, and also educational activities in those aims. But then I also had like a top picture view where I was like, okay, how does this fit in my own goals as a researcher, and how will this career and this task specifically help me achieve those? I think that kind of helped put everything into perspective.
Now, you mentioned that you served on a panel. Now,
Right.
Was it a live panel or was it virtual?
Both. I served in both. Yeah. Like before pandemic, from my experience, before 2020, I did not know whether NSF preferred that virtual panels. I started reviewing. I started here at OSU in 2016. My first panel was in December that year. I joined in August 15. In December, I was in Washington, D.C., serving for NSF panel. And from that onwards, in each year, I'm serving on average at least 2 to 3 proposals. So till 2020, before the pandemic, I was doing this. I traveled there, do it. But now, NSF has more flexibility. For example, I'm serving one in next week that is hybrid. Okay, so some panelists are going to travel there and they will be there, and some panelists we are joining through Zoom. And I'm doing one in May that is purely virtual. So now after the pandemic, I think NSF is doing more of virtual panel as well as the hybrid panels.
Were you able to serve, was it any on career proposals in particular?
No, yeah,
Okay,
it was regular proposals.
Have others participated in NSF panel review?
Yeah.
All of you, okay.
I tried to.
I tried to, okay.
Yeah, I was on a panel and we found like a conflict of interest, so then they got me out. But
Good. So we've been hearing lots of different ideas about different aspects of the proposal. If you could give one piece of advice, and one only, I'm going to open up for questions after this, so you're thinking of your question. If you could give one piece of advice, and only one, what would it be?
I think make sure you believe in your project, that it's something you really want to do. Because like when you get that call, the first reaction is excitement, and the second reaction is like, now what? Like, what did I do? So just make sure it's something you want to spend the next 5 years doing, in case you get it.
Worst case scenario.
But I think also write the career so that when you get it, you're ready to go. Like I think for me, when I got the call, I was like, well, if I knew I would have gotten it, I would have written it very differently. But now I'm stuck.
Very good.
Okay, I can jump in.
Sure.
So I would say, so we have only 3 chances, right? So I failed in my first 2 times. I got the proposal awarded in the 3rd time. So what I would say is we have only 3 chances. So in your first year and second year, do at least 1 or 2 regular proposals, 3-year proposals. That really helps to get that experience, and by the time you write 2 or 3 proposals, at least what they are expecting. Okay, so then in your maybe in your second year or third year, you can start your first career proposal. Okay, I think that helps you in writing high quality proposal. I think that is very important. And you don't want to take that trial directly with your career proposal. You want to try first the regular proposal, which is many engineering programs now it takes throughout the year. And you can try with many programs, at least many of us have research fit with 2 or more programs, You can submit at least 2 programs 2 proposals in a year to 2 different programs and regular proposals, and you will get a feeling for what they are looking, or actually while you write you yourself see after submit you realize, oh, I should have improved this portion or that portion. So after 2-3 proposals you have a good feeling for how a good proposal should look like, and you can take the trials with the regular 3-year NSF proposals.
Good advice. Okay. Any other one piece of advice you would give?
I write it, dream it with your heart, and criticize it well with your mind. That's all I will say. And just proud of what you write, and try to just listen yourself.
I will add again, write a good educational plan. I think that's key. So not just like me, I think, in my opinion.
All right. Now it's your turn to ask the panelists. They're all yours, so ask away.
I have one. This may be a long answer. we'll see. I think one of you mentioned that you have to show, I think it was Nicoletta, you have to show you were going to be the leader in that area. How do you do that as an assistant professor?
I think if you really care about the project you're proposing, it's gonna come across. Because like it's not your background as much as like what you want to do. Like for me, I was very clear about about what my goals are. Like these are my career goals. Here's what I've done to achieve those, and here's how this project will will help me advance those goals specifically. Like not other stuff, just those goals. Then in every aim I had, I also added like one line, a statement that said, here's what I've done in the past that relates to this. It could be simple stuff, like I had one one task that would need IRB approval. So I'm like, okay, I do have experience with getting IRB approval like all the time, so it's fine. And here's some references, so you can see that I've done this before. So it's kind of like building that confidence in the reviewers that you won't fail. Like you're not just BSing them, you know?
It's a great question, if I may add some more points on. So it's a wonderful question. Like many of you may be writing NSF career proposal as well as DOE area career proposal, right? NSF specifically do not have this criteria, like they evaluate your proposal based on intellectual merit and broader impact for the career, the integration of research plans and the educational plans. Okay, the rating each reviewer give you is just one rating. Okay, like it varies from 0 to 5. Okay, for example, 5 is excellent, 4 is very good, 3 is good. Okay, they provide comments. You might have seen our comments, right? Okay, that's one rating. That is NSF, how the NSF proposal review process works. If you look at DOE proposal, they have, if I remember correct, 4 or 5 criteria. Okay. One of the criteria is like what is the technical approach. Okay, one of the criteria is does the candidate has potential to become a leader in the field. Okay, so they have specific criteria. Okay, then you realize what kind of comments you are getting when the proposal is not funded or when it is funded. Okay, they look for they find evidence from your package, your application package, right? So a couple of examples. Okay, they look at if you are submitting a career proposal in your 3rd year. If you have some really strong, good publications as you being corresponding author from your home institution or like Oklahoma, OSU, okay, if it is really good journal, you're building your proposal on that, that shows why this person is establishing already, having platform to become a leader. That is one evidence. The second evidence is, okay, for example, in our NSF BioSketch, we have synergistic activities, okay. There you can include, okay, served as a like NSF panelist or in a chair or co-chair in the symposium in your field, or reviewed as a article reviewer for these journals, 5-6 journals, okay. Then those are the evidence that, oh, he's very active in the field, already serving for these high impact journals, active in the symposiums, okay. So this person is going to be, potentially a leader in the field. Okay? So they look for the evidence in your package, including publications on your synergistic activities. I hope that was helpful.
I'm going to add to that because being a future leader doesn't mean that you're already a leader. Because again, like I said, it's your vision that they're awarding, not your past work. And for me, that was especially important because I've never done anything in what I applied for. It was just came out of the blue. I applied for it. I was like, let's see how this goes. So none of my papers are on this topic. But I did draw from my past papers. I'm like, okay, there's this thing I did that fits in this small component. So for me, that integration component of not just education and research, but also your current work with your past work and your future work, and your different aims with each other, like it was really important for me to show them that I will not fail. Like I could still fail, right? But like as far as they're concerned, I'm not gonna fail.
Anybody else want to take us out of the answer?
Well, I can say that, like if the ideas, probably from my point of view, if the ideas that you have are original, like the research ideas, I think that's one big help. Like if you're doing like things that are kind of derivative, or like most likely that's not going to be you showing up as a leader in your field. So that's probably if what you are proposing is novel, you can argue that it's novel for this and this reason. You can kind of carve it that way. That's one approach.
So I'm going to just pick up on the comment that you made. It was actually significant in that often when you're writing kind of your CV and your annual appraisals, you're going to frame review activities and committee membership activities as service. And that's right, it is. But the way you frame it is actually really powerful if you think that, no, you're thinking of your leadership role. I would, if you're writing a statement that's assessing kind of that engagement, you might frame it that way. Not just that you're doing your time on service on committees so that you can notch that on your belt, but that you're setting yourself up as a future leader. And that you may want to seek your department head's advice too for how you can grow as a leader, and have that be part of a discussion that you engage in, instead of it just being considered service, because it tends to be something that's somewhat minimized. Certainly on the RPT process, as assistant professor, service check, okay, good. But if it's more, then it'd be useful to kind of get a little bit more dialogue.
I think sometimes it's obvious when you do it for the checkbox,
Yeah, I think so. But I think I'd not thought about that, to amplify. So good. Thank you. Other questions? Yeah, John.
Yeah, I want to ask something about the revision, especially when you have to do round 2 and round 3. So when you are doing the revision, are you still working with the same program manager, or you guys have experience like the previous program manager left? So how do you kind of take the advice from the current program manager who's overseeing your current review, and letting you know that, well, I won't be here next year, so so how do you guys navigate the revision process? Yeah, I guess that's the question.
Maybe I can start with that as well. It's a great question about revisions, right? When you find a program, you submitted or first time, okay. When the program director sends it for reviews and when you get panel comments, okay, that itself shows that, okay, your proposal is a good fit for that program, because that program director accepted it and it is reviewed first time, okay. Then when you submit second time, okay, most likely, okay, it's going for review as well, right? Many times the program director may be the same, okay, but some programs they have the rotational basis program director, so it may be different. Although it may be different, the panel may have, in the previous year there were 12 panelists, 12 reviewers who were in that panel, okay. There are high chances at least 40 or 50% of the people who served in the previous panel, they are going to come and serve in the next year as well, because they would like to see continuity. Okay, that's what I learned from program directors. They would like to see some kind of continuity. So, if you are getting, say, 4 reviewer feedbacks on your proposals, second time you may not get all the 4 reviewers to be the same as who reviewed last time. Okay. But there are high chances at least one of them would be reviewing your proposal again, because these are the things program director they store in their data storage. Okay, so even when the next person comes, he or she will be trained on that. They will have a history of that. So they will look at how this proposal is reviewed last year. Okay, and who are all reviewed. Okay, so they know the names, right? They know, okay, this person reviewed last year and this person is again there serving in this panel. So that program director, whether the same program director or the different program director, he or she will try their best to assign your proposal to the same reviewer. So at least whatever you addressed, okay, there is an advantage with verifying whether you address the comments. Okay, so best thing I think, once you get the comments, program directors are many times available to talk to you over Zoom or phone. Okay, so that's what I did. Okay, so I got a 30 minutes talk with my program director. He had his own comments and the panel comments as well. He provided very constructive comments. Okay, so many times, especially on your career proposals, they are very much available to give you feedback. And many times you may find those feedbacks in the written comments, but program director also, they have some useful non-written comments as well. Based on the discussion, what he or she observed, they are open to share with you and provide you some general guidance. So I think with respect to revisions is always helpful.
Anybody else have to resubmit? Very good.
Address the comments. Yeah, but in my case, I didn't have the change of PM, so the PM was the same. So I just addressed the comments as to the best of my ability, of course. Yeah, but I didn't change the PM, so I cannot comment in that regard.
One of the components is outreach, and I'm wondering how each of you address the outreach component of your proposal.
I propose something that's catchy in their mind so they will remember. That was my strategy. So I personally proposed to make cartoons to explain how battery works. And then I described in the proposal saying that, during the pandemic, I was planning to go camping, and I did, as a battery scientist, I didn't know what to purchase. There are so many options out there, and I don't know what to choose. And I thought that's a great opportunity to educate the general public as the outreach activity. I thought that was helpful maybe. So when they read, they might realize, hey, this guy went to camping and this guy realized there's a need and he is offering, making cartoons, kind of like something non-traditional. Mm-hmm. Of course, you have to propose something traditional, K-12 activities, minority students, all these things. Although they say it's not a check bar, it's a still check bar. So just put those things, and we have a great society here. What's the name of it? OK Slamp.
No, right.
Just get a letter from them. Say you're gonna hire some students or do some activities. So it's always, check sex, minority.
Juan, how did you address outreach?
Kind of like in a similar way. I mean, like having like an interesting. So you have to do the standard. Like I'm going to change this course. I'm going to, kind of like the standard activities. My case, I think what I proposed, and I'm working on that right now, was like a board game that I'm going to implement next summer in the summer bridge program here. So that's kind of what I proposed. So I'm going to do like this specific type of board game that is going to illustrate some of the concepts of my proposal, and this is going to happen in the summer bridge program that OSU hosts every single summer. Like I took that way.
Okay.
So that's what I did for the outreach. Besides, the standard, like I'm going to teach new courses, besides kind of like the standard thing that you should have to put there as well.
How about you?
So for me, it was all about integration again. So like, yes, you'll use your research in your outreach, but I think what most people miss out on is the going back the other way. So one of the activities I proposed was to run like a proficiency competition for pilots on simulators, kind of like a Red Bull race or something like that. And I figured they can come to the lab, use the simulators, and then I get data to use in my research. And I basically, like my career goals was to like produce more pilots. So anything I did like for my outreach was going back to that goal on different levels, starting with like my outreach initially is to go out to different events at airports and take a simulator with me and get students to fly some missions. And that's kind of like train them on like the basics of flying and things like that. And I called that, I think, creating interest. And then I had a level 2 that was creating an online asynchronous course on ground training for pilots from an engineering perspective. So teaching them about aerodynamics and like aircraft design and things like that. So we can just like expand the accessibility of ground training at least. And then the third one was very local at OSU. Let's bring all the pilots from the flight center, put them in the engineering lab, and have them play for a weekend every semester so I can get some data.
Good. Mark, how about you?
Great. Yeah, it's just to reiterate, okay. So when we're like this component, you may not have in DOE proposals, right? You may not have not in all NIH proposals, okay? So this is outreach, but it's expected to be in all NSF proposals, including our regular NSF proposals and the career proposals, okay? So from your first year, you need to start thinking about what outreach activities I want to develop for my group and my related to my research, okay? So again, coming back to the career proposal, it's now going to have 3 components, right? Research plan, educational plan and outreach. The third one is outreach. You need to have strong research plan, strong educational plan. I think outreach compared to these three, it comes, in my opinion, third. Okay, and if that you can think about it and build on it in your first year. Like we have from our research CEAT research office. For example, again, Pam can help you in connecting with different resources within OSU. Okay, the one I proposed are like in the summer we have Grandparents' Day, we have National Lab Day. Actually, our dean will be happy, our department head will be happy. If you are participating, many of these activities, because it's also we are doing a big service to our your department and CEAT and as well as OSU. So there are many activities, as I mentioned. So what the reviewers are looking is how you are advertising your research to the school students, right? K2, that's what we call it as kindergarten to 12th grade school students. Okay, so basically I proposed 3: Grandparents' Day, National Lab Day, and I was also serving in my department the student chapter, American Institute of Chemical Engineers student chapter. We go to, the student chapter goes to local schools like Westwood or Sanger elementary schools. We make demonstrations, okay, because student chapter. So I was serving as an advisor to that group. Then I said, I will participate and will demonstrate stuff related to my research to school students. Okay, so these are the elements I think reviewers are looking for. And remember, this is important both in your career proposal as well as your regular NSF proposal. So.
Good. Mari, you already talked about talking with your program officer. Did each of you get a chance to visit with the program officer?
I did not.
You did not. Okay. And the first try you got your
Yes.
your career. Okay.
I did not, because my biggest struggle for this career was finding a home for it. It was not a traditional engineering one. I actually went to the SICE directorate, like Computer Information Systems Engineering Directorate, and I talked to so I did this conference through the workshop organized through the City College of New York, I think. I think now it's the ASAA or something. But they had a few program directors there, so I chatted with them briefly about like, hey, would this fit in? And it was basically nope, nope, nope. And eventually I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for this program. It happened to be the right one. I went on the award. I went on the awards page to find like keywords. It's like, who's funding this? But because of that, I just went for it. And I was like, it's the first attempt. Let's see what happens. It's a better job next time.
Well, it sounds like you did the right thing in terms of looking at the awards page to figure out who would fund. What advice would you guys give in terms of how to connect with the program officer? It sounds like it's not always easy.
Like for me, it was like we have like a standard, let's say, home program for industrial engineering. So that was kind of like the obvious for me. I just did like basic interaction with the,
So you emailed and they got right back to you the next day, or was it?
No. I text with this particular lady like several days after the fact. Yeah, but I didn't do like anything, let's say, fancy. I just communicated by email and and the award thing of looking like for previous awards. I think that's definitely a good idea.
So did you ever get on the phone or have any?
No, emails.
Yeah, all email. How about you, Oscar? Email, Zoom?
So
Zoom. Okay.
I usually talk with program managers over Zoom. But again, nothing fancy. But of course, your hands are shaking before you send the email. Just send the email saying that you are considering submitting the proposal, and then attach a one-page summary and ask if they have time to evaluate if it's a good fit, and also mention if there is possibility to have a little chat so you can have their feedback or their vision before putting your proposal together.
All right, how about you? Did you were yours email, phone, call, virtual?
Right. The first time you start the conversation is through email, right? It's easier. Okay. Obviously, if the career proposal due in July, at least you email the program director 3-4 months in advance. The very first conversation, right? As Oscar mentioned, we have that one-page project summary ready. You can email the program director and hey, I think your program is the best fit for my proposal. May I know your opinion on this, and if you have some time, I would like to briefly discuss with you and your advice on this. Okay. Many program directors, especially they are most likely going to reply when your proposal is a career proposal, okay, and they will say, you know, hey, it looks like a good fit, and these are the priority areas I'm looking for in my program. They even, you know, help provide you some feedback, so you may write your full proposal based on, you know, that fit, a best fit between your proposal and what the program is looking for. Yeah, many times you will get a reply from program director, and you can have a Zoom chat or a phone call with them if you want to have.
And I think we make that sound a little bit easy, but I don't think it's as easy. I think for me, the NSF hierarchy was very intimidating. And I still struggle with understanding who comes under who, you know? And I think sometimes, like I still don't get this, but sometimes some programs have multiple directors and like you don't know who to call. But it seems like what I learned since then is that if you just contact someone, they may be able to direct you. Something else I learned is when you're applying for a career, you can list your like preferred program, but you can have a backup one. Or like I had listed 3. I was like, the first one is the most appropriate one, I think. But given that I'm already like kind of like in limbo here, let's put a couple more that I think are kind of relevant. So that's how I kind of addressed my uncertainty on that. But it was not as easy as let's send an email. I think especially because you're gonna send an email with a white paper, right? And I was not planning on applying on this topic, so I had a white paper for something else. So it's not always as easy as we make it sound, and that's okay.
Good. All right, back to the audience. The questions that you might have.
I just noticed while you are thinking, she mentioned about this Sunny Buffalo career panel online. I attend that one where they have a mock panel in May. They send you 4 different proposals. Definitely not in your area. I review educational and psychological proposal too. And then they put you in a small groups, like a virtual panel, a fake virtual panel, and you discuss the proposal. And those are career proposals. I encourage you to attend that one. It's online, takes a half day, but you will be able to see some examples, fail and successful examples, and get the best out of the way you read it.
Good advice.
Do you have any advice on time management?
So I checked my document before coming, and my Word says I spent about 450 hours on my document. So probably about 500 on my end, on just like planning the career and stuff. Again, maybe I fell asleep, I don't know, but...
450 hours.
Yes, that's what Word says, which is about 18 days. I did the math on that too. Yes. But
you just leave it open and go take a
I mean,
run
maybe,
or something
I
like
don't know,
that?
maybe it's possible. It's like get a phone call.
Play some pickleball. Yeah, right.
But I think it takes time. Like you have to start thinking about it early. And again, like I had a different topic that I just switched at the end. But I was thinking about that topic for 2.5 years. It just wasn't going anywhere in my head. It was like a dead end. So I just like quit, call it quits, and I switched. And then I spent time thinking about it. It took me about like a couple of days to put my ideas on paper and write the white paper, just so I can start forming ideas. And I don't think it's the writing that takes as long as like, for me it was a lot of reading, because again, it was a new area for me, so I had to read a lot. It's the whole thing where you read 5 papers and you write 1 sentence. So that's what takes time, and it just takes time for the ideas to marinate in your head. It's still gonna be an last-minute proposal, no matter what you do. But just give yourself time to iron out all those concerns that you're gonna have, because you're gonna have them too. For me, the biggest, again, like yes, it could come crumbling down, so address that. I addressed the risk of the proposal. But what I thought was the weakest part was the theoretical background of virtual reality. Because I had never done research on that. I didn't know anything about it. So I did my best, and I was like, this is not good enough. I should be reading more. If I had more time, I would be reading more. And that's exactly the thing they pointed out in their comments. Like, we're missing some of the literature review. I'm like, yeah, we are. If someone wants to do it for me, let's go. But just give yourself, like, give your brain mind. It's not the writing as much. Like, yes, I spent a bunch of hours clearly on that Word document, making the figures and things like that. But I think I spend more time just sleeping on it and just waiting for it to fall together.
Any other time management advice? Mara, you scared me when you said you reach out to the program manager 3 months before July.
Right.
That seems a little close, but.
Yeah. I think it depends on the individual, right? But what I think, in my opinion, is when I wrote for the very first time, I started from scratch. My first time career, I took. It's good thing is it's due in summer, right? You are not distracted, or with your teaching and your publication writing, other thing. So for the first time, I spent a solid 2 months when I wrote my proposal for the very first time. And just I was focusing on it in addition to advising my grad students. So those are the only 2 things I was focusing during those 2 months. Since it was due in summer, I did not have any teaching. Okay. Very first time, 2 months. But second time when I revised it, I put same proposal, revising it. I put solid 3 weeks to 4 weeks. I would say almost a month. Good, it depends, but it took a lot of time for me. First time, 2 solid months. Second time, about a month. And PAM is really helpful. The last thing you want to see in your proposal is you don't want to see any typo error. You don't want to see figures labeled wrongly, like figure 10, but there is no figure 10. Okay, those kind of things. Okay, the reviewers don't like those kind of things. So it needs to be really a clean document, right? And people like Pam, they are really helpful with that. I mean, we need to be first, make sure it's wrong. But even if you have something that sometimes some minor errors, we don't. Since we have been looking at it many times, it's high chances that we may miss something. But if you give to your friend or Pam, they can pick that and help with that as well. Yeah. So.
Also on time management, like I had this problem where at the end, like the last week before the submission, I was just done. Like I'm done with this. And that's a hard place to be because it's a big thing, it's high stakes, and you don't want to get there where it's like you're just burned out. So I don't know how you could avoid that, but for me, I was like, let's just send this. I don't care anymore. Let's just be done. So make sure you just like pace yourself and maybe like finish like the week before so you can take some rest and because like if things can go wrong, they will go wrong, right? So plan for that.
So for that one, I took advice from Dr. Schmucki when I had a chance to collaborate with him. He's a German professor. He can send you email at 3 a.m. in the morning when you collaborate with him. But when I had a chance to visit his lab, I heard from his students saying that they have periods of hard working and then periods of a complete relaxation. So before I write any proposals, I do have stages. Right now I'm in the paper writing stage. Once I'm done with paper writing, I'm going to have a vacation. And I'm going to turn my phone off and then start writing proposal stage and then have the vacation for sure. Please give the charging for yourself, especially before I do the career. Go for a vacation and then come back and write it.
I did that too. I was in New Orleans.
There you go.
Okay.
That's a good choice.
It's really
That's exactly right.
Not in July.
Well, no, it's 3 months ahead
Jamie,
of time, right?
go ahead.
So, Nicoletta, you said that you proposed a new idea.
Yes.
And so, did you have preliminary data to leverage? Or
Zero.
So, okay.
But I'm not an example to follow. So pretty yeah.
What was the extent of everybody's preliminary data that they had been working on? What year did you first do your career? Was that adequate time? Would you do anything different? That sort of thing.
I had the same question before I started writing my first proposal to my advisor, my PhD advisor. The question I had was, are they expecting us to have a publication or preliminary results or preliminary results in our proposal? He said, you need not have publications, but definitely preliminary results, okay? Then I also started serving in the panels. I found he was 100% correct, okay? I think your case is different in my opinion, okay? Definitely I would say all proposals in my field, okay, when I served maybe so for more than 10 times in a panel, okay, I would say all of those proposals had preliminary results, strong preliminary results. I think in my field that's a kind of a requirement. They don't, NSF does not say, right, you must have preliminary results. They don't say that. But I would say in my field that is kind of a requirement.
Juan, how about you in your work? Did you end up with?
I didn't have like preliminary results for exactly the same thing I was proposing, but I had like papers on related subjects. So that's basically where I started.
I didn't have any preliminary data, but I had publications in like different topics, but similar skill set that I was proposing to apply to the idea. So.
And I think before we scare everybody, I think the purpose of preliminary data is to convince them that both you and your research proposal are going to be successful, and that's not the only way to convince them.
No one said anything yet about the evaluation, any evaluation plan component. How did you approach the evaluation?
That was another intimidating thing for me, because everybody says, oh, make sure you include money for evaluation, and like make sure you include evaluation, and nobody tells you how much money, or like how do we do this, what has to be done. I took a very DIY approach to it. I think because of the nature of my work, there's a lot of data that I can use objectively for evaluation. And then I basically made an advisory board that was, again, very strategic to help me evaluate my work. And it's a very multidisciplinary proposal. So I had like one person, I took all the skills I had to have to do the project, and then I picked one person for each skill to make sure everything is covered, but I picked them strategically so that I can build collaborations from my lab, they can bring new expertise in, and like also get some buy-in, right? So I'm gonna need data from other universities or from other places, so like get those people on your advisory board and they have like a stake in the game.
I want to emphasize on that one too. So for the teaching educational portion, we have an educational college here. So you can find the internal collaborator. I personally put $1,500 per year for my internal collaborator for X hours. So she can evaluate my outreach and all these K-12 activities, whatever I propose. And for the research, I form a advisory board. I call it industrial advisory boards, where there are people from industry and also from national lab. And next step also, we have I don't know your department, but in our department we have a seminar series. So you can invite for sure one person per year in your area, even if you don't run the seminar. So I put it there that I will invite those people to evaluate, come see my lab and be in contact with my students. And once a year or once in 2 years, we will have a short online communication where we will present a report to them what we have done so far. That's helpful to check any concerns the reviewer might have.
I think one more advantage to the advisory board is the career gives you an easy opportunity to email people, and you have an excuse. Like, so if you need to build collaborations, it's a good way to do it, especially if you're not into like people that much and you don't know how to contact them. That's one way. It's two birds, one stone.
One quick thing to add. So as both of them said, in research, we are doing experiments or simulations. You get results. You can evaluate yourself, right? Okay, you know whether it's working or not. It's direct. Okay, and the educational portion, okay, you are proposing something. We don't know whether it's successful many times, right? That's why, as Oscar mentioned, we have ITLE here, right? Many of you know, Institute for Teaching Learning Excellence. Okay, they have a great support. Okay, during pandemic. I think they supported us a lot to excel, right? Especially, okay, but they do on throughout the years, okay. I work with two of my great friends in there, Dr. Gina and Dr. Christy, okay. I invite them from each courses I teach to come to my lecture and provide me feedback. So when you propose something in your educational plans, it is always good to have this evaluation plan and evaluated by teaching specialists. And as I mentioned, we have great people in ITLE. You can work with them, okay, get a support letter from them. And I found in my strengths of the comments, strengths portion of the comments, the reviewers, they loved it. They said, oh, he's already having established collaboration with these people in ITLE, and he's going to continue working on that. And he has provided a support letter from them. So I found that is very helpful and supportive.
Very good. We have time for one final question from the audience. Jamie?
How did you celebrate when you found out?
There you go. How did you celebrate? You know, a couple of vacations. New Orleans, I heard New Orleans, so what else? How did you celebrate, Juan?
I was in Brazil, so my wife is from Salvador, in Bahia, so we ate a really nice dinner that day. So.
A very nice dinner. So,
What was it?
The dinner?
Yeah, sorry.
That's awesome.
Like the actual food?
Yeah.
It was something, it's called moqueca.
Oh, there we go.
So very nice moqueca. That's the way I celebrate.
Oscar, how about you? How did you celebrate?
And the reason for vacation, right? Let's take a vacation.
Camping? Is this one of your camping vacations where you take nothing and you harvest from the ground with everything? Make your own power? With...
Yeah.
Where did you go?
For that, I think we went to there's a, you know, I think there's a TV show on the Pioneer Woman. So
Yep.
there's a small park there you can camp. That's where we went.
Yep.
So I enjoyed, I mean, my wife made some special sweets. I enjoyed with my 2 kids and my wife. I took 2-3 days relaxed, you know, big, yeah, it was definitely a good one to enjoy. Yeah.
I just slept better.
You slept. All right. Any final comment before we close out our session?
I would say, you know, the good thing about career is that you have 3 chances, like 3. So my approach, like the first one is more like exploratory approach. So just kind of throw things there to see how it goes. And of course, I think it's definitely like a must to try the 3 times. So try the second time, and if you don't get it the second time, try the third time. So that's, you know, and don't get discouraged, because some people get discouraged when they get like, you know, bad reviews or whatever, but it's kind of like, my approach at least is kind of like a trial and error kind of approach. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but like when it works, you can get a career, so there's that.
Oscar, any final remarks?
Please make your plan in advance. Don't rush it. If it's too late, just apply next year. But if you have the plans already, go for it this year.
So I got this advice from one of my colleagues in my department, senior colleagues in my department. So I did not have many success with the proposal in first couple of years. Then the 2 things I find is very helpful. Okay. One is serve as panelist. You get a chance to see what is really a good proposal and a bad proposal. Okay. And it's really easy one to get. Okay. Write to 2-3 program director. Definitely you get a chance to serve. That is the first thing. Second thing, this is the best advice I got from my colleague. So when we think about proposals, right, we put a lot of efforts, okay? And this may not be applicable only to career, but many proposals, because our academic life, we keep writing proposals, right? Write a really a good proposal. And target submitting that proposals to multiple agencies. Like same one proposal you can submit to DOE Early Career and NSF Career. That way you are writing really a good proposal and targeting with multiple agencies, okay? Obviously, we know if both agencies fund you, you are going to take only one, right? But less likely, many times that does not happen, okay? But write a really good proposal. That's what I'm aiming now, okay? And that's the best advice I got. I think we need to write a good proposal and submit to as many agencies as possible. Then that way, you know, the chances of getting successful proposal funded is high, I think.
For me, like my philosophy is I don't take myself too seriously, but I take my work very seriously. So on the proposal, like do something that's really fun for you to do, because it's gonna be 5 years of misery if you don't. But just do it well. So it's your own chance to find something exciting and fun to do. So make sure it's really fun, and have a plan to get it done that's like very solid. So you can have some fun and they get some results too.
So Nicoletta, Mari, Oscar, Juan, it was really fantastic to hear from you. Congratulations on winning your award, and thanks for spending the time kind of answering our questions and sharing with us your experiences. And we need to check out what that food is. That sounds interesting. So thank you very much.